Hey YouTube Nation, this is Amanda Elo'esh, your quicker waker upper. It's been a while since I've put anything here on YouTube. I'm doing a lot on Facebook, but I missed you guys, so here I am. I wanted to share a little bit about ways to get through Valentine's Day, and I just wanted to start by sharing that I have had some pretty rough Valentine's days, and I've had some great ones, but I've had some pretty traumatic ones. In fact, two of my most traumatic experiences in my life happened on Valentine's Day. The last two Valentine's days, I have broken up with my partner. We're gonna work really hard to keep it together this time. It actually feels like it's going to be just fine, but Valentine's Day can be pretty rough, and whether you're single or in a relationship, it can bring up a lot of stuff. And so I wanted to share a little bit about, my previous Valentine's Days, what I did to get through, and some helpful practices that you can use to let more love in, to call in the love to your life. So one of the worst Valentine's Days I ever had was being in court, fighting my husband for the restraining order. I'd taken out a restraining order against him, and he'd been forcibly removed from our home because he was a threat to me, and he had been taken out of our home, and he decided to fight it. So we were in court on Valentine's Day to uphold the restraining order. Thank goodness I won. It wasn't actually not much of a contest because he was addicted to methamphetamines, and he was high on methamphetamines when he was in court. So it was pretty crazy, and it was pretty awful at the time. Now I have a pretty good sense of humor about it, but at the time I was having panic attacks from what was going on in our relationship, in my life, all the craziness that was unleashed. And then another time, several years later, I was in Vietnam with my partner. At the time, we were traveling the world. It was a really amazing experience, but for some reason we decided to go visit the Coochie tunnels. Now that sounds like a good, kind of sexy thing for Valentine's Day, but in Vietnam, the Coochie tunnels are the tunnels that the Viet Cong dug out to fight in the war, the Vietnam War, with the United States. So I have a traumatic history with guns in my life. There's been suicide and murder in my life, always involving guns. And so I have a bit of trauma around guns in my presence, and they let you fire weapons at the Coochie tunnels. You can pay money and fire weapons, and so I didn't do it, but the sound was all around me. So it was it put me into shock. Actually, it put me into shock. I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even tell people what was wrong. So two of the most traumatic experiences of my life have happened on Valentine's Day. And like I said, I've also had some really romantic, some fun Valentine's Days, but I know it can be rough. And if you're single, it can feel really hard. Sometimes if you're in a relationship, as has been the case in my partnership, if there's a little bit of roughness, it can really buck you off altogether. And it's a time of high expectations. The pressure can be overwhelming. There can be, all kinds of stuff can happen around Valentine's Day. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. How do you get through it? For me, the way that I got through it was to let myself feel the feelings and let them out and give myself some privacy. I needed to be by myself. If you have somebody safe that you can be sad around and they can just hold you and not try to fix you, let you have that flow of your feelings, it's really helpful, because feelings are a lot like water. They are healthy when they're flowing, but when water gets stagnant, it creates disease. So, and that's the same way with feelings. If we clamp down on them because they're hard and we don't want to have them, or maybe it's Valentine's Day and we're supposed to be happy, but we're actually not, you can clamp down on it because it doesn't feel like it's appropriate or safe. And that clamping down creates a stagnation of the feelings of the waters, and it can get toxic, and it can make us sick, mind, body, and spirit. For me, it shows up in my body, so it's really important to let those feelings out. Like I said, I find it's easier if I have privacy or somebody that I really trust, that I can be sad and vulnerable around, and they're just gonna love me and support me and get me tissue if I need it, or give me a hug if I need it. And breathe, and just breathe with those feelings, and notice where the body is trying to tighten up around the feelings, trying to clamp it down, and just let yourself cry, let yourself have the feelings. That's number one, let it out. And then if you want to do something creative and positive, which I find really helpful after that, then you can do a couple of things that I found really, really fun and helpful. One is to create a vision board. So it's, as big as you want to make it. It can be small, it can be really, really, really large, and you can look at old magazines or even print stuff up or even make your own images. But it's a collection of images, maybe words, maybe other little art supplies that you want to put together that represent what it is you want in your relationship, whether you're single or whether you're currently in a relationship that could use some improvement. What do you want to see happen? Because sometimes we may not be happy with how things are, and if we don't have a vision or a concrete sense of what we do want, then our mind focuses on what we don't want. And when our mind is focusing on what we don't want, unfortunately, our brains like to put together the images that we're creating for ourselves, even if it's an image of what we don't want. It's just how the mind works. So it's really much more powerful and effective to make sure you're focusing on what you do want. And so having a reminder of that you can tune into on the reg to remind, oh yeah, right, my brain needs to see what I do want. Create that and let that be there in your bedroom, someplace that you're going to notice it and be able to really. I encourage you to make a Valentine, and I encourage you to write on that Valentine what you would want to say authentically to somebody in partnership. So you have to tune into what would I want to feel. Again, this is tuning your brain into what you do want. And so kind of focusing, taking a moment to drop in and really feel it, really get a sense, like what would I want to say to my ideal partner? Because that can help you to know what you're looking for if you're single. And if you're in a partnership, it can help to create a blueprint of what you want to create in your relationship. Or maybe your relationship can't handle that kind of goodness that you want to call in, and it can be helpful to know, like, oh yeah, this isn't going to happen with what I got right now. So either way, it helps us to get really concrete about what we want and to focus on what we do want, which then puts our brain into motion of calling it in. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to try to be here every Friday live with you. It's around 11:30 Pacific Standard Time, and I'll try to be here every week. And if you want to catch me on a more regular basis, I'm on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. Pacific, Amanda Elo'esh. And I am also on Zoom. It's a free offering, Sacred Feminine, listening to female voices share with us their ancestral and spiritual lineages of tuning into the holy, whatever that is for them. How do they perceive source, and what are practices to tune into the divine? And it's welcome to everybody, even though we're focusing on listening to and giving power to the feminine voices of our community. It's open to all genders, all who come in a good way, who genuinely are curious about learning about the diverse ways that our human community, female community, experience sacredness. So if you want to tune into that, you can look up, I'll post it here after I'm done live. It's a Zoom channel, and I'll put it in the comments here. So check that out. And it's 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time every Friday. I co-facilitate with some other amazing women from around the world. And yeah, I hope to tune into you there, hope to tune into you here. And if you want more and you want to know about the programs and the ceremonies that I do, you can catch me at Elo'esh.com. Until next week, may the source be with you. Thanks for watching.